Hello, 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 and welcome to another episode of the Lume
Plotters Interview series.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Who are we having on today?
So today we have one of the, I guess, most, I don't want to say revolutionary because it's not revolutionary. It's strange, right? His ideas are just not usual. And this is none other than the founder of Ressence,
Yes.
which if you've seen Ressence watches, they are strange. And that's kind of the beauty of it. So Benoît Mintiens,
Benoît
Ralph,
Mintiens.
help me on this. Mintiens.
Well, I was just trying my best. Benoît Mintiens.
Yes. So absolute pleasure to chat to. He was a super cool guy.
Absolutely.
Ignoring our pronunciation or butchering of his name.
Sorry, yeah.
Nonetheless, we just basically were so intrigued with the whole concept of Ressence and how these watches work, the oil-filled models and the whole planetary displays, so to speak, that kind of move around each other.
Yeah.
How everything rotates. So we just basically asked him a whole bunch of questions.
A lot of people don't even know, right? You show them the watch and they think like, oh yeah, that looks cool. But then you're saying like, do you know that all of these parts actually move around the entire dial during the day?
And
right?
What he said, right? And you'll hear it in a second, but essentially that the oil-filled ones are two separate sides, and the movement drives the oil-filled side through magnets.
Exactly.
And then on top of this, he was saying it's essentially never needs to be serviced because it's always lubricated.
Yeah, it's amazing stuff what he explains about the different oils and all of this stuff. It is really interesting to see what's going on there.
But the one question that I never asked him, and it bugs me that I forgot to ask him, is, he's going into this like as if this was normal watchmaking, but I never asked him why. Like he says, I put oil in the watch, but no one ever said like, but why would you do that? Like, how did you come up with this idea? Like,
I think. I mean, the first time I saw a Ressence watch, that was the Type 1, right? The first one. And I think I saw it in a Met gallery the first time in reality here in Dubai Mall. And I thought, this is unreal, right? It's like the first time you see an iPhone or something when you think there is no screen. It's just a like printed glossy magazine. And you think this is not the screen. This can't be, right? And then you touch it and you think, oh wow, it's real. I think this whole magic has worn off a bit because now we're so used to these touch screens and that the displays basically there's no glass that you can see. It's just like the pixels are right on the top. But a couple of years ago, this was still absolutely fantastically new, right? And
of course. I mean, it still looks new.
Yeah, yes, and a watch definitely. It still looks like but now with all of the smartwatches, it does get a bit more normal, but it still is amazing to see this because it's a mechanical watch. And I think this, I think from a one-trick pony to a certain extent with the oil-filled one, we have now seen so many different, it's an entire line of watches. It has really sparked or spread into something, an entire big company, right? It's just like the one watch and it's now so many of them. And the new versions, especially the ones for Siddiqui that came out, the 3 different special models, the limited editions, they're all spectacular. I think that they're really cool and the different color schemes and stuff. It's just fantastic to see that. So Ressence, let's get one in the collection at some stage.
I've always wanted one. I've been close. The prices used to be a little bit lower, and then not anymore.
Not anymore.
All right. Without further ado, roll the tape.
Let's roll the tape and enjoy. Bye bye. See you. Speak later. Hello and welcome to Dubai Watch Week. Again, the Lume Plotters having in the interview series. Today we are talking to Benoît Mintiens.
Correct.
I hope I pronounced your name correctly.
Nearly good.
Nearly good. Okay. Average has to be good enough then for me today. From Ressence.
Yes.
It's fantastic to have you. We have Martin, Rajiv, and myself, Ralph.
Thank you.
And it's
Thank
great
you for having me.
First of all, Ressence. your watches, congratulations to your last installment with the Siddiqui series.
Yes.
Was it a Type 1 DX3?
DX3, yep. Type 1 DX3.
You launched it just
during the show?
Just yesterday, yeah?
No, the day before.
Oh, sorry.
In the evening. Yeah, well.
You have to be precise.
During the
watchmaking
show.
Here,
during the show.
Yes. Wonderful. And I think this is one of the nicest watches that you have created so far.
Thank you very
love
much.
the Arabic pattern on it.
Thank you.
It's really, really a stunning watch.
And it's the third one in the series.
Yeah.
So we started in 2019 with the first DXB for the airport.
Yes, of course.
That's what they have on your
in
your suitcase.
Yeah.
And then we did in last Dubai Watch Week so 21 we did DX2 and then now DX3. And so it became a trilogy, and they all share a common DNA. So they're all based on Type 1, but they have the different cases. So we have they all have a different case. But their common DNA is based on the fact that each watch combines an Arabic art with a watchmaking art. And so the first one combines the skeleton with arabesque. The second one combines the guilloche with sadu. And sadu is a traditional weaving technique they have in the region. On top of that, we also we have the guilloche that is parallel lines, but they are in facets, organized such a way that it blinks or it flickers like when you have the sun on the sand. So it's a combination of those two. And the one we introduced now is a combination between the cloisonnage and the mosaics, typically from the Arabic world. They all have a same pattern, so we follow exactly the same pattern, but applied completely differently between the different models.
Wow. May I ask how much input had the Siddiqui family on this limited edition?
Well, first of all, they took the decision to do it.
Right.
And that was in 2017 when Ressence was not what it is today. So from that already is quite, I would say, courageous from them to say, okay, let's give this guy a chance and let's do something with him. So that is at least, I think, the most important step they did. Afterwards, of course, in the first edition, they were quite involved, and then the second one a little less, and now they're even a little less, but they knew that they, of course, they gave their approval. It's not that I had a carte blanche. But no, they were quite involved, actually. And the first ones, they were very involved. They really said, no, I want this red, and I want that color here, and I want to change that. And, so yeah, it's... I think we should all thank them for the energy they put in the industry. It's really amazing. They don't need to do this. Nobody nobody asks them to do this. They don't earn money with this. And we all as an industry benefit from it hugely. So yeah, I think it's
as in the Dubai Watch Week itself. Yes,
exactly. The Dubai Watch Week initiative.
Yes,
is in the end they're a retailer. Huh?
Absolutely, yeah.
So it's very impressive.
No, we have to be also thankful to have such a watch event in Dubai, which is not Switzerland, right? It's not a traditional watchmaking country, and that this actually the world comes here to share their passion for watchmaking.
That you feel there's a neutrality that you have less in Swiss shows. Where there's always a leading brand and a second brand that wants to be the leader, and then there's always little fights here and there.
Right.
Not with fists, just but psychologically, and here you don't feel that so much. You know, the large corporations are not present. Well, they're there, but you don't feel that they say how things should go. And that's I think a very strong, and I think that you feel it. The chillness of the people and the mentality of the people here. It's very, very relaxed, and every morning I take my breakfast with all my colleagues.
And even brings people together. It's more like a vacation almost. Everyone comes
when
together.
You have a booth, it's less a vacation.
Yes, yes. It could be a vacation if you had someone running the booth.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, but
And I
not
think
yet.
we see today, I mean, this Dubai Watch Week, I think we have
Busiest.
absolutely amazing turnout.
Yep.
I mean, so many
It's huge.
people here. We have
Huge.
so many friends who listen to our podcast and say like, I'm coming.
Yeah.
I'm booking a flight. I'm coming to Dubai just
Yeah.
for the Dubai Watch Week.
Yeah,
It's
it's
amazing,
It's impressive, and it never stops. At 10 o'clock, it's already full of people
Yeah. And-
until 10 o'clock in the evening.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because otherwise, in other shows, you need to have an invitation and all those things.
Yes.
Here, it's open to the
So,
public.
Yeah, they
and
open to the public,
Yeah.
and they do it very good. And they really believe that they want to support the industry in this way, and they want to make also local people discover what watchmaking is. Of course, they sell watches, huh? So let's
but
not
it's,
be
it's,
naive.
it's
But
two-sided. It's also the watch industry gets acquainted with Dubai and the Arab culture,
yeah.
and then realizes that there is a large community here.
it's a huge
Exactly,
community.
and talk to end consumers, right?
Yeah.
Because usually a lot of brands, they talk to the dealers, they talk
Yeah.
to distributors,
Yep.
but here you have the chance to talk to the people who buy the watches,
Yes.
right?
And
Without
the people
pressure.
who buy the watches can really talk to the brand themselves.
Which
the
is-
people
exactly.
that do it in the brands. And I can tell you, I don't see who I have in front of me. Most of them I don't know. So
Yeah.
are they consumers or not? I don't know.
But now coming back to your watches, because
Tell me.
the first watch that I saw from you was the oil-filled version, the black
Yes.
one.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I was just taken aback, a bit like the first time I saw an iPad and the iPhone. When you think there's no screen anymore, it's like it looks like it's printed, and you
Yep.
think glossy print, right?
Yep.
So you think, wow, this is can't possibly move, right? This is just a
Fixed.
static, right?
Yeah.
And then you see it moving. It's mind blowing the first time you see it, where there's no surface thanks to the oil filling that you
Yeah.
do. How did you manage the torque that you need to move all of these parts inside that case? Because I just don't
It's a
understand.
good question. When I developed it, I was afraid to have a problem because I was afraid that the oil would create too much. I wouldn't call it friction, but
Resistance.
too much resistance in the system. And actually, it's the opposite. The Type 3 that has like nearly 400 components compared to Type 1 that has no oil and that has 200 components. I'm rounding it off a bit. The Type 3 needs 4 times less energy to run
Wow.
than an air-filled watch. And I couldn't really understand why, because I thought still there are a lot of components, etc. But I think that there are two elements that play a role. The first one is that all the components are in oil, so they are fully lubricated. That's something you will understand. But imagine yourself, there's no camera here, but would you have a drop of oil on the table?
Mhm.
Yeah, that's the traditional way of putting oil on an axle.
Mhm.
And you put a paper on it. The paper will stick to the table because
Yes.
of the oil. It sticks.
Yeah.
But you take this same paper and you put it in a bucket of oil, it will float around.
Yeah.
So you already don't have this adhesion anymore. And another element that is helping is the fact that the components are floating. So they're lighter relatively than components in air. It's like if you put yourself in a pool or on the ground. You feel more heavy on the ground than in the pool. Well, same for the components. They're relatively lighter.
Wow.
So for the movement, there's let's say a double advantage of being in the oil. And then there is another thing that's good for us as a brand is that there's no wear. These watches, the oil side of the watches, they never need. I cannot remember I had to do a maintenance on an oil-filled watch because
that's
they are
excellent.
perfectly lubricated. It's like a gearbox in a car. How often do you need to repair the gearbox in your car? It's and the gearbox in your car gets a lot of force on it, whereas here it's driving freely. So it has a lot of advantages actually to have a mechanism in the oil.
So let's talk about the downsides now.
The
So
downsides.
because of course I from a mechanical perspective looking at it,
Yeah.
first time I saw it, I started thinking, oh wow, what happens if X, Y, Z? So for instance, you have to have some type of a. I know that you created into two components, two sides.
Yeah.
The movement is on one side,
Yes.
and the oil filled has a what do you call it?
Membrane.
Membrane, exactly, in between. Two questions. One, has the membrane ever failed? Have you ever had leakage, seepage into the other component, other side of the watch?
Yeah.
And two, while coming up with what type of oil to use, I'm assuming, viscosity is a big issue here. If it's too fluid, too sticky, this would affect it as well.
Yeah.
So how did you come up with this?
So actually, the separation between the two halves is a titanium case. So it's not membrane. It's not flexible. It's a hard thing. It's milled out of a block of titanium, and so only very locally. So where the magnetic transmission is.
Oh, that's right. It's magnetic. There's no actual drivetrain going through.
There's no drive because there would be a leak.
Yes.
Eventually. So there is no opening. It's like a compass.
Yes.
Instead of earth that is turning the compass, it's a magnet that we put in the watch that drives the module. So it is completely sealed off hermetically. There is no access. You cannot access the oil section once it's in. And the oil itself, the first watches I made, I used oil that is used in compasses for restoration. So very old compasses. Why is that? It's because most liquids that you have on the market and compass oil today is a bit solvent based, and the Luminova in the watch does not resist that. So I used very old compass oil, but it's an organic oil. So very quickly I changed to a silicon-based oil. It's not just an oil, it's a very specific oil because it has to be very fluid, so a low viscosity. It has to be perfectly transparent like water. It has to be UV neutral or insensitive to UV light. It has to be chemically neutral. It should be also neutral from an acid point of view. So there are quite some things that the oil had to comply with. And also a very important one is that the expansion rate of the oil should be as low as possible. Even though we developed a bellow system, for your German readers, Balgen, that compensates for the dilatation or the expansion of the oil due to the heat or the contraction. So it's all these little systems that we have put in there to make sure that oil can never come out.
So is it non-serviceable?
No,
or you can, but you have not, as you mentioned. Right?
The times we have to do is because the watch is dropped or something, that the glass is, the sapphire is broken, and that there are sparkles of sapphire going into the mug. Then you need to completely disassemble it. But
you bring a great point. I mean, there's so much to consider with the oil and the Luminova, the hands, everything. It has to be absolutely neutral. And then imagine if it starts discoloring over time.
Well, that's why I also changed the oil, the organic oil, because after a few years, no, it's not years. It's not even years. It's a few months. There is a deposit that was coming onto certain components.
Yes.
So I had to change that.
So these were all in the developmental period. Right? So you never
really
actually
the start.
Launched any of these watches.
Yes, there are watches that went into the very first ones. They went into the market with this organic oil. But by now I changed it. They all have the proper oil now. Yeah.
I have a few questions to ask.
Go ahead,
please.
First thing is, for the many, or for the some of the listeners, where did you get the concept? Because your watches are a very unique concept where you don't have a crown.
Yes.
And even the design of reading the time on your watch is something which not many people would initially pick up. Where did all that concept come into picture?
Very often people ask me that question, and I have been trying to search where it comes from, because there must be a simple thing. And actually it is very simple. What I try to do is to combine two things. The advantage of reading information on a piece of paper, so flat information, is easier to read than three-dimensional information. So that is the first thing. And then secondly, I used the logics of a screen. Any screens, we are surrounded with screens today. So I took a screen and I said, the advantage of a screen is that it's dynamic. It changes. On the same surface, you can have different informations. So how can I take the screen as the new reference for displaying information? How can I make that mechanical? Because the screen is at the same time dynamic and flat. So it's easier to read.
Yeah.
And you can change the information. So I took that concept and I translated that to a mechanical watch.
The reason being is when I saw the Ressence for the first time, I actually thought that it was a prototype. It not as in it was just a flat surface. It was just like a dummy kind of a watch. And when the authorized dealer at Siddiqui told me that no, this is an actual watch, I was like, whoa, this is unbelievable. And even your designs, you've had various collaborations with Alan Silverstein and
we did. Yep.
with Revolution. That's one of the best designs that you've ever come up with.
Thank you.
Are you coming? But unfortunately, it's a shame that it was only for 40 pieces. Are you planning to have another collaboration with Alan Silverstein?
Not with Alan Silverstein. I think we did one, and it was a very successful one, and I think we should not do it again.
Okay.
That's it. Right. It was a very nice one, and I believe that many people asked me to make a new one, but I think, but you can make it in black or you can make it in green.
No, I think the colors were absolute perfection. I mean, that was what it should have been.
Actually, I will tell you where the concept comes from. During COVID, when everything was down, we thought, all right, what are we going to do now? And so we had the idea to have a competition. So we asked all the people that were at home and were bored because they had no work, asked them, okay, can you design a watch? So we, for Ressence, so we send out a PDF with the front view of a slim Type 1. And we said, voila, we'll do competition. The winner will be a watch that we will produce and we will sell it through an auction. And the money will go to research on COVID in a university here in Belgium. And so we did the competition and we had nearly 500 drawings that we received from all over the world and also many people from the industry that were at home or the children from people in the industry. And one of them was the drawing from Alain Silverstein. It was one of the drawings, but he had put himself out of category because he designed things that were not within the lines that we defined. So the hands, he changed the hands, he changed everything basically. So we didn't consider his design. And so afterwards with Revolution, he decided, okay, let's do it again.
Right.
And then we did it. Then we did it as it should.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
That's a very interesting story.
It is. I've never heard this before, but
That you just entered the competition. So, that's cool.
the new watch that you've launched, how did you manage to get the Lume? The Lume looks outstanding.
Yeah.
It's so beautiful. I've never seen such colors ever. I mean, how did that come into play?
Actually, the Lume, there are many options, but nobody uses them. These companies that develop these colors and these luminescence, you can have pink Lume if you want. It exists. It's not that strong. That's the problem. So it's the strongest are the blue and the green ones. That's why you always see those. But we use all the other colors. There's a watch we will introduce later this year, where we use like I think 6 or 7 different colors in Lume.
Yeah.
You don't see it at day, seems the same, but at night suddenly it becomes completely different. So and with that project, where it was important that the mosaic effect during the day was also represented during the night. So we also changed the looms in the same way we changed the colors. It's not a big difference because we wanted it to be subtle, but it's also subtle at night. Same idea. So we have this pattern that comes back again at night. So it was really the idea behind it.
It's so beautiful.
But technically, for us, it was not a huge difference because we do this already since the beginning. This way of doing the loom, all the hands, all the numbers, all the lines on our watches, they all are made the same way as we did for the watch. It's just bigger and triangles instead of lines, but the principle is exactly the same.
Right.
So for us, it wasn't a big, let's say, innovation or something like that. We had to develop the colors because they didn't exist, because we wanted specific colors for the project. But more than that, the people that do it for us since the beginning, there are 3 ladies in Switzerland. They can do the Ressence dials. For them, it wasn't a big deal.
So now, what is the smallest watch that you currently make? Just out of curiosity.
It's 41.5.
And do you have any future plans to downsize? Maybe like a nice 36?
That's impossible.
Is it?
Yeah, 36 is impossible. The dial of a Ressence is 32. So the main disc is 32 millimeters.
Okay, so you need
But
everything around.
yeah, but you have to add the ball bearing. The balls at that level are 0.8. So you add 0.8 millimeters to that, but then you need a ball bearing cage. So you cannot go 36, too small.
So what do you think is within the realm of possibility?
Yeah. Well, I think 40 would be possible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, something like that. 40,
Yeah.
39-ish. Depends on the design of the watch, I think.
39 is the magic number, right?
Is that the number? Yeah?
It seems to be.
That's what they
yeah.
all say.
That's what
39.
That's what they all
seems to
say?
say.
All right, okay.
And any plans of this, or?
Well, I've tried, of course. I tried to see how far can we go. It has all to do with proportions. You can say, okay, I can maybe, if I really push it, I can do 36. But then the proportion between the diameter and the thickness of the watch is not good. So you always have to consider those 2 elements. So it doesn't look good.
Yeah.
So you have to, and it's a false problem for us, Ressence, because our watches always look smaller on the wrist than they are numbers.
Well, you have no lugs, basically.
There are no lugs, there's no crown, nothing sticks out, and they have an organic shape. So you have visually the impression that they're a lot smaller than they actually are.
Well, that's true.
So for us, I should start. I told my team, but they're not ready for it yet. But I said we should do like the weather. It feels like 10 degrees, but actually it's 12.
Yes. No, I think.
Well, some companies do this, right? So if we look at Rolex, and they are always saying, "Oh, the Daytona is 40 millimeters," and you measure, it's actually 38, right? The old one. They are reporting what they feel.
Yeah.
And this is, I think, a very good point.
Yeah.
Is people are biased by these numbers.
Yes, they're
Where's like a 40? Right?
It wears
It's
like a 40.
It's a 42, wears like 40.
Wears like...
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or sometimes the other way around. You have a 36 wears like a 38 or 40.
Exactly.
Because it's long lugs and different shape or different leather straps or whatever it might be. Yeah.
The reason why I think Martin has brought up that number of 36 is because it's even for women. Women also...
You're going into the unisex.
You go into the unisex division. But if it's impossible, it's impossible.
Yeah, 36 is really too small. I looked at it. It's too small.
Okay.
But I'm not Ressence is not targeting women, and I don't think we will.
Okay.
If a woman wants to buy Ressence, she's perfectly welcome.
Okay.
And I invite her to do it. My wife wears a Ressence, of course.
Okay.
And it's not a problem, again, because they wear smaller than they are.
Right.
But I think it's another world. It's another business. We cannot, for some countries maybe less than others, but in Europe for sure, for a woman, a mechanical watch is maybe not the first thing she wants to buy. So I think,
But I think there's a difference. Because of the fact that you don't have a crown, it'll be more easier for them to wind the watch.
Yeah.
So
I'll tell you another funny story. The first watches, Ressence watches, had a crown.
Oh, okay.
The 0 series and the Series 1, they had a crown. And to set up the watch, there's in the crown, on the head of the crown, it was not a crown that you pull out. It's a fixed crown, but the head of the crown, there was a lever that you could flip out, and then you entered the setup mode instead of winding. And I delivered my first watches to Chronopassion in Paris. And at Chronopassion, you have these very elegant ladies that sell watches. And so I was very nervous because it was my first delivery. And suddenly I had a call from Caroline at Chronopassion. And she said, bonjour Benoît, ça va? Yes. I was very nervous. And she said, wow, I have a problem with your watch. I said, oh no. And she said, yeah, I'm breaking my nails on your watches. I just broke my nail on your watch. I said, oh no, terrible. I thought, okay, they're going to send it back, So I offered a manicure to the whole team in the same street. And I thought, okay, I need to get rid of these crowns.
Right. Wow, that's interesting. That's a cool story. Yeah.
Or you could do what my wife does and just never sets the watch.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, she says,
She just
"Where's
said it. She
it?"
gives it to you. Can you set it?
Oh yeah, that too.
Yeah,
that's the other. There's two equations. One, it's always wrong time, wrong date.
Yeah.
Or she just says, "Here you go."
Yeah, please set it.
Yeah, and the excuse is always, you like to do this.
Yeah,
right?
you like to do.
And how has it been for you, your journey as a watchmaker? I'm sure you've struggled a lot, especially with all the complications that you had with your watches.
Yeah.
How has that journey been? And like in the initial days would have been really tough, and then over a period of time when people started accepting your watch,
It's tougher and tougher. I thought it would go easier, but my main problem is that there is a problem with the production side of watchmaking. And as I'm not a Swiss, I'm Belgian, and sometimes I'm confronted with an industry that has very different ways of looking at what is being a supplier. And what that means and what that involves, and that there are certain responsibilities that you have to have as a supplier, and they look at it in a very different way than I do. And so I think this is really the element that was the most complicated for us as a brand in the whole development, was to have very good suppliers that are reliable. That has been the struggle. And now, okay, you could say, you have good suppliers now, but the quantities are going up. And so again, becomes a problem, So there's always a problem, I cannot say there's never a problem. So, but then now we are investing a lot ourselves in the production.
So you're going to have your own production?
No, we don't have our own production, but we're changing the equation within the production department, I would say, if you can call it like that. So there are new things that we are setting up to make sure that we are able to supply when we need to supply and at the amount we need to supply. So I think that is for now, and since the start, I think it's the main topic for us.
Yeah.
But the day I will solve that, there will be another problem, I'm pretty sure.
But you have to see this like a watchmaking challenge, right? It's like a process optimization, finding the bottlenecks, solving this problem and trying to make
but unique problems. Because I view you and the gentleman at HYT in a similar light. Both of you decided to do something that no one has done before, especially with liquids.
Yeah.
And it's just so unique
and refreshing.
And it's refreshing because these are no longer watchmaking problems.
Yeah.
These are now fluid mechanics problems and engineering problems that no one else has ever done. And you are one of the forefathers of this.
When I delivered, when I did the first prototype for the Type 3, actually I took a Series 1, so that was the model I had at that time, still with the crown. I took those elements and I took most of the components to make a test model with oil. And so I made a case that is closed. And I sent the design to my supplier at that time. And I was there just trying to make him work a bit faster. And then he came to me and said, Benoît, I think you made a mistake. I said, what? Yeah, I think your conception is wrong. Your watch will never work. I said, oh. I was a bit scared
Oh,
because
wow.
the guy had like 20 years more experience than me. And he said, "Yes, you forgot to open the watch. It's completely closed." I said, "There's oil inside." And then he said, "What?" And he left. He
So-
left the room. He said, "All right, I'll just make what you draw." And then,
So you've defied all the odds. Now, where do you see yourself in the future for Ressence?
yeah, it's a good question. Actually, what we have done in the company is that we have defined a roadmap and the different steps in the evolution. I believe that generally speaking, Ressence the concept appeals to many. It's not like we have a beautiful case and that we do different colors. It's the concept itself that is the core of what we do, and it's also the philosophy that is behind that that is the core for us. And so from there we develop the brand in different directions. For example, we could say we could do a sports watch. It's perfectly possible with the module that we have. We could do a very stylish watch, whatever. So there are different directions that we can go into with the brand. And that's what I tried to achieve. We made a kind of map and we said, okay, these are all the areas we want to have a product in because we believe it's relevant to be there. It's relevant to be there, and there. That means that, for example, we will never do a watch with diamonds inside because it brings nothing in our respect. So I'm never criticizing anyone else. Everyone has a reason of existence, otherwise they would not exist. And we decided that for Ressence, the core of what we do is related to the service the watch provides you. That sounds very weird maybe, but a watch is a service provider. A watch is a tool that does something for you. And sometimes that can be, I look beautiful. That can be a function. But we decided that the function we want to bring is having a better readability. And why do we want that? It's because if the service that you provide as a product is a positive one, is a good one, your relation with that product will become better. And the connection that you have with it is going to be stronger. And so that's what we are aiming for. So to create connections within different fields, within different dimensions around us as a brand, that we think, okay, here we can increase the connection. I'll give you a simple example. The Type 5, it's our diver watch. There are not many independent brands that have diver watch, real diver watch. It's an ISO certified diver watch that we have. So why do nobody have it? Because there's not much reason why to do it, because Rolex does it better than them. Everyone does it better. But we made a diver watch that is better than a Rolex. I'm very...
Rolex is no longer ISO certified.
Is it?
Because they changed the rules. Now you have to have Lume plots on all of the 5 minutes, and because of the Cyclops, you don't have a Lume plot. So it's
well, anyway, we all refer to certain watches as diving watches, and
absolutely.
they're perfect, and I love it. I really am a big fan of what they do. But we have put oil in the diver watch. And some people say, yes, but that's normal because then the compression of the water, etc. So you see, but no, we didn't do it for that. We put oil in the Type 5 because you don't have the internal reflection on the water.
Right.
It is not a mirror on the water. Any diver watch, mechanical diver watch underwater will create or an extremely distorted image or a mirror underwater. But with the Type 5, it's perfectly readable. It's even more readable than just like this in air, because you don't even have the glare on the glass. It's gone. The glass disappears. It's like a cube of ice in water. It disappears. So you have the impression you're really looking at the dial physically. So it becomes, basically, it's a better watch. It's a better diver watch. A watch that you can read underwater is a better watch than one that you have difficulties in reading underwater.
Yep.
So we consider that the service that the watch provides is a better one than a normal watch. That's how we look at watchmaking. It's a very different approach than most brands. Sometimes not easy because you have to really think, okay, what can I do here? And it has to be really functional. But that's what we believe adds something to the table, because most things have been done. Let's be honest. So that's an example.
I have 1 million questions. This is never going to end if we at some point arbitrarily don't say.
I am very surprised we haven't been
we
kicked
haven't been
out
kicked
yet.
out. But the problem is, I have so many more questions. But we can ask them offline. I think we've surpassed our time, and we
had
really
one final-
appreciate
I
one
have-
final
go.
question. Take it, Rajiv.
The servicing part.
Yeah.
At what point in time does your client or a person who owns a watch have to give it for servicing because of the oil and all those complications?
So I said the advantage of oil is that you don't really need to service the oil side. That's a big advantage, but let's not forget
But that's one part.
that's one part,
And the
and
other-
it's only 2 watches of the 6 we have in the collection. So not all our watches are oil filled.
Yeah.
There are only 2 that are oil filled and 4 that are not. And so these other watches are mechanical watches. So it's a standard mechanical procedure, like any mechanical watch. You need to service it from time to time. Mostly, most watches come because of the automatic system on it that dries up. That's usually the main reason why they come back, that they don't wind properly anymore. But that's it. But that's not something you need to do every year. It's like 3-5 years. And let's be honest, most people, they will send the watch when there's a problem. They will never send it if there's no problem.
I would like to buy one of those, and then I will service it. That way I can afford one.
Yeah, but that's true. It's usually when you say, okay, when there's, and thankfully to the modern movements that are in most watches, even if there's a problem, it's usually not a big one. It's a easily replaceable
problem.
part.
Usually it's a lubrication problem.
So that's good.
Or if they are dropped, that can happen.
Of course.
That can happen because the ball bearings that we have on our watches are made out of jewels, so they're extremely hard. They're harder than the metal, and so if you have a very hard drop, but on a soft surface, it can be that the balls create a small
Indent.
dip, in the ball bearing cage. That's something that we sometimes have. So you don't see it on the outside. The watch looks perfect. And they say, no, didn't drop. No, I didn't do anything wrong with the watch. It just doesn't work really well now. Suddenly it starts to be going too slowly or too fast, whatever it does. Yeah. But then you open it and then you see, oh my God.
Similar to a cerebral damage.
10,000 G shock here.
Yeah. That's right.
So
it's like a cerebral damage, you know.
Yeah, it's like that's it, exactly that. Yeah. So you don't see it on the outside.
Right.
Hello.
All right.
Oh, excellent.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much. It was a very great conversation.
Thank you so much
Thank
for
you
your
very
time.
much.
Yeah.
Truly an honor.
It was,
well, come on, guys.
no,
we're all
honestly,
here.
It is, and you could see our passion for your brand.
Thank you very
Everyone
much.
is extremely.
We are like kids in a candy store. It's for us, it's so fantastic to have the chance to speak to people who create the things that we love to collect, we love to look at. And
Super.
It's fantastic.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Wow.
Wow. I knew you were going to say wow.
Wow. What a nice interview. And what a lovely interview partner to have. Benoît, it was a pleasure to have you. Thank you so much for coming onto our podcast and bestowing all of your knowledge and all of your stories to us. And I hope.
Yes. I mean, once again, I do want to pick his brain a little bit more.
Yeah.
Because I think there's a lot more to unpack there with all of these crazy. You know, he just underplayed the novelty of all of these inventions. He really did. He's used to it, I guess.
We also have to say, like, we are not really that experienced in interviews, right? So we just go in and just ask these questions. But now, understanding a bit more, having had this conversation with Benoît, I think we have lots of follow-up questions. Yeah. So we got to have him back on next year.
Yes,
2024.
exactly. But this was one of the first interviews, right?
Yeah.
But the whole point, what we want to do here is to do an interview that isn't like every other. I mean, you can
Exactly.
Google, I'm sure, and find a million interviews with him. But we want to ask the Lume Plotters questions, right? So
Yeah.
something a little bit from left field,
Exactly.
because we're nerdy and weird anyway. So why not?
Yeah, and
But-
Lume is a big question as well for Ressence, huh? Man, they have
Did
used
we-
so
we
much in
talked
the
about
last.
Lume?
No, we didn't, I think. But there's so much of different colors that he used in
I think
one of
he did
watches.
mention Lume.
Yeah. You probably know this
He did
better.
mention that it
Yeah.
was all luminous,
Yes,
right?
Yes, and all the different color shades and stuff, yeah.
Exactly. I mean, the guy does know. I mean, it's a one, as you said, it's a one-man show essentially, right? I was going to say one-trick pony, but no, it's a one-man show. Let's put it that way, because he does do everything himself, and it's kind of amazing how much traditional knowledge the guy has, and then on top of that, he has all of these quirky ideas as well. So,
Alrighty. Listen,
nonetheless,
listen
all right,
to
we
our
got
regular,
plenty more to come.
Exactly, regular scheduled episodes and more interviews to come. Alrighty.
Yes, regulars on Tuesdays, interviews on Fridays.
Bye bye.
Catch you next time.
Catch you next time. Bye.